Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, yo! Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey, what's going on, all you scallywags out there? You know what time it is. It is the Sunday edition of the Reese on the Radio Rundown here on News Talk 1080 WTIC. You can always check out ReeseOnTheRadio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. If you missed an episode, you want to follow us or send us a message, you can always go there to ReeseOnTheRadio.com. I love this Sunday spot because it just gives me an opportunity to just talk to you. You get to drive along and enjoy your day, do your chores, your gardening, whatever it may be. And I am here to entertain you, which I'm going to try my best to do. I want to start off today's show by talking about, I guess, a label mate of mine. And I use the term label mate. For those of you who know the music industry, there are artists on the same label. This gentleman works for Odyssey. And I don't want to call it a criticism of him. This is sort of, I'm only even talking about it because, one, we're both on Odyssey, but two, we're both from the same neck of the woods. He and I are from Hollis, Queens, Run DMC, LL Cool J, like birthplace of the, I want to say, the golden era of hip hop music. And he and I are about the same age. We've been around the same circles growing up. He knows the same people that I know. So I consider him somebody who's in the fold. He and I have never met personally. He might know me, and he knows that I know him. And it is none other than Stephen A. Smith of ESPN. And, you know, he has his own podcast, and he's very much into politics as of late. And do I believe that he knows much about politics? Probably not as much. He's, you know, I would consider him entry level in politics, but he's very interested in it. Nothing against that. I believe if you have an interest in politics, you want to talk about it, good on you. You want to enjoy the conversation or join in the conversation? Absolutely, have at it. I don't consider him an expert, and I don't believe that he considers himself some sort of expert. He's a guy looking at it from the ground level, and I think he appeals to an audience that looks at politics from a ground level. And I think that's a good place because people need to be introduced to politics on a very basic level and in a basic way. Stephen A. provides that. And that's not, again, not a criticism. But the thing that I would like to criticize is his little tete-a-tete with James Carville, the Ragin' Cajun, a guy who is not a novice in politics. This guy is responsible for the Clinton era. He worked with Bill Clinton, and he is a strategist, and a lot of people sort of look to James Carville as a voice of reason, somebody who gets it, who understands the voter. That doesn't mean that you can't disrespect him or come at him or he's like some holy grail. He's not. The thing that I'm sort of taking note of is this exchange between the Ragin' Cajun and Stephen A. And the fact that James Carville would, I would say in many cases, would punch down at Stephen A. on the subject of politics is a bit noticeable because I almost feel like Carville is giving Stephen A. more notoriety than he deserves. if you would have listened to the Ragin' Cajun. My problem with Stephen A is, ain't no man in the world ever going to talk to me in a way that James Carville talked to him. I mean, just listen to what James Carville had to say to Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A., you me before you start running your mouth off about politics, a topic of which you really don't know anything about. So, Stephen A., keep up your on sports. I enjoy it. I like it, but don't make a fool of yourself anymore in talking about politics.
Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but where I come from, we would have kindly given Mr. Carville a phone call and said, hey, here's my address. Or how about you and I get together someplace where you and I can throw down? And I'm not talking about verbally. Now, James Carville's an older guy, and he weighs about, 85, 95 cents. Whatever. I understand it. Stephen A., he's no big guy either. Roughly, those guys share about, between them, about $1.50. But nonetheless, I would have seen homeboy. I would have had to have seen him for him to come at me talking quite grimy, I might add, with the cursing and shut your mouth and all that. Yeah, I would have had to come to see homeboy. And yes, there might have been a pimp slap here or there. Now, in Stephen A. Smith's case with James Carville, I would have taken my index and maybe my middle finger and gone about maybe across the jaw. Pip, real quick. I'm sorry, sir. What did you say? Did you get the loose lips around me? I would have said, that's just me. You couldn't talk greasy like that about me anywhere. Online, to a friend, in a telegram. You couldn't do that. And Stephen A., listen to Stephen A.'s response.
But if you really, really think, James Carville, about what I said, you've been saying the exact same things. I saw you on Fox News. I saw you on CNN. I saw you on your podcast. Where the hell you think I got some of the stuff from? Is what I said really the problem? Or is it the fact that some novice who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the wall when it comes to politics is resonating in the political stratosphere more than you? And if you're going to mention my name, can we cut out the profanity?
Now, again, I don't know about you, but again, I would have never said anything publicly. I would have gone to see James Carville. I would have hopped on a plane, maybe met him in New Orleans or wherever the hell he resides, and come and checked him. And I said, my man, I need you to step over here to the side. Can we have a discussion, please? By the time it was over, Carville would have been on his podcast saying, hey, before I begin, I would like to very humbly apologize to Stephen A. Smith about the selective words that I said about him. And I apologize, Stephen A. Never, ever will I utter such nonsense in my life. It would have been done like that. But, okay, look, they're grown men. They can handle it any way they want to. But I don't know, maybe I should just say for the record, if there's anybody out there who decides to get online and talk greasy about me, save the tape. Don't even bother. Just come and see me. Just come and see me. Doing it, behind the camera and talking that type of mess is unnecessary. I would suggest you come and see me because as soon as you put it on camera, you are telling me you don't want to see me. You just want to hide behind the camera and talk a lot of smack. There won't be any talking on my end. I'm a little disappointed from a guy from Hollis, Queens like Stephen A. But I understand, again, he's really not built for that. I don't believe he is. I would have expected more from him. Again, Hollis alum. But James Carville would have never gotten away with it. Whatever the age is, that would have been ahead of yourself. Taking your age for granted, like somebody won't come and see you because you're 85. I don't care. You should know better. That's just me. Anyway, we'll take a break. More news, more views when we return. It's Reese on the radio, NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
The hour that backs up
we're back. It's Reese on the radio. NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. One of the things that I never like about the palace intrigue is the polling data that happens really, really early. Like we dealt with a whole bunch of polling data before the election, but then a month in, it immediately becomes this polling data about how's the president doing 4 weeks in. And it's not used for what it never used to be this, let's just say.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Tiresome with the polling data, and I don't really see the importance of it. If those of you who know what I'm talking about know, you'll get it, but just for the sake of argument, for those of us who don't know, let me explain it to them, and if you'll indulge me. So the president is beginning of his term. It's 4 weeks in. There is not a midterm election until November of 2026, ostensibly 2 years from now. And whatever happens today does not resonate 2 minutes later. In no way. Whatever the polling data is today, carries no momentum in the future, a month from now, 3 weeks from now, and I do mean it, a minute from now. It really doesn't. No one can take the polling data today and use it in the 2026 midterms. You just can't. You can't just say, well, remember what the polling data said a month into his presidency. It doesn't, no one cares. And no one's going to remember. And because news travels and news happens so fast, people are going to forget about it immediately. So it matters for the here and now, and it's bragging points, right? It's used for the left or people opposed to the president in power to say, see, I told you should have never elected him. But that horse is out the barn. So what's the purpose? Here's the purpose. The purpose is to make people have buyer's remorse immediately. And if you can get that to resonate, it will continue. That's all. It's geared to get you to say, well, yeah, I didn't think about that. I am disappointed. It's really silly. I wish the president didn't play into those roles or into that game as much as many people do, even as the media does. I would never go in a back and forth. As President Trump does very well, he steers the conversation. That's his role as the ultimate troll. All he does is says something, and the news media follows. He is the news cycle. There used to be a time where they set the agenda. They wake up in the morning and they say, oh, there's a war on women. And then everyone had to respond to the news media making that claim. Now, the president is in the driver's seat. He controls the narrative. So he wakes up one day and he says, Pop-Tarts suck. And then the media goes out there to prove that Pop-Tarts are the greatest thing in breakfast food. That's how it works. It's dumb, but it's just the way that it is. And it's not his fault. It's theirs. So when you hear this stuff coming from like the likes of Jessica Tarloff on the 5, let me play this audio for you. And think about, if you can, the confidence that she lays this out as if it means something. And it goes right into what I'm talking about and why it's so important to them to say that this polling data is so detrimental and so awful for the president.
So there were a bunch of polls that came out. CNN has 2-1, people are upset about Musk having such a prominent role in the government. Trump's approval rating is down 5 to 7 points across 4 of these big polls. He's underwater on managing the economy, which is obviously what handed him the presidency, 8 points underwater.
Okay, well, first of all, that was some of the dumbest polling I've ever heard in my entire life. Talk about vague. It's a bunch of details about nothing. And talking about how people are upset or unhappy with the way that Elon Musk is handling Doge. First of all, if you let the media tell it, yeah, that's probably true. However, you're going to have to explain to me a little better than that how the American people who are being polled are suggesting that Elon Musk and the Doge team, or the president for that matter, breaking down government or downsizing government is a bad thing to the average American. Because look, I've been alive long enough, no matter where I've gone, no matter where I've been, I've never seen anybody tout the government as the hero. And I will even go so far as to say this, and I've asked people, in fact, maybe I'll just do it myself. I will ask, and you should too, the greediest people among us, you know, the ones that are leeching off the system, sucking on the teat of government, ask them whether or not they're okay, whether they're on food stamps, Section 8, or any kind of welfare. Ask them if they're okay with the idea, with the money that they should be getting, going overseas to sex change operations and condoms and God knows what in Mogadishu. Ask them whether or not, just give them this scenario. Hey, how much money do you get from welfare? Well, consider that and say, how much more would you get if we were to cut all of these billions of dollars going overseas in some of these DEI programs and bringing that money home here so that you can get it? Weren't you under the impression that taxpayers were paying for you? Well, guess what? When you're asking yourself, why is it you only get this amount of money and that amount of money? It's because this money is going here, there, and everywhere outside of the country for ridiculous programs like DEI plays in Ireland. How do you think those people would respond if they found out? You think government would be the hero then? Absolutely not. Not with Donald Trump saying we're trying to cut down the government and cut down waste so that more Americans have more of their tax dollars do the things that they're supposed to do, like take care of its own citizens. Like the guy talking about taking care of Americans, taking care of the poor and impoverished in our country. You think the poorest among us would go, no, I'd rather see my money go to Istanbul. Come on, folks. Nobody believes that nonsense. And to prove it, here's Kayleigh McEnany in the same exchange on the 5.
Oh, well, let's get into some polling. CBS, Trafalgar, Rasmussen have him over 50%.
Yeah.
Recent CNN poll, the most popular Trump agenda item that has been accomplished is immigration. In fact, 55% said he has gone either just the right amount or not far enough. Not only that, I'm a nerd. I spend my Fridays reading CNN crosstabs. When you dig into the crosstabs, people who feel there's an attack on democracy, that number was 56% in 21. That number was 54% in 2023. You know what it's at now? 45%. So this threat to democracy language that the left is still using, Biden was a bigger threat to democracy, a majority threat, according to a CNN poll.
In the words of Chuck D from the supergroup Public Enemy, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. We'll come back. More news, more views when we return. It's Reese on the Radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Catch Reese on the Radio. Reese on the Radio. Only on WTIC. News Talk 1080.
I thought about this story for a little while, saying to myself, you're going to come off as insensitive. You run the risk of sounding insensitive, and I get it. And if I do, fine, so be it. You know, you guys will say all types of things about me. Oh, you should have been. It's not my fault. You know, it's in the news, and I thought it was interesting, so it's why I'm covering it. If you haven't, so Eyewitness News, I guess somewhere, along with CNN, did this report. Let me just read the headline, and then you can, put your fingers in your ear, or you can turn, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Here's the headline. Texas 11-year-old girl dies by suicide amid deportation rumors at school. Now, again, if you don't want to hear this, take 8 minutes and come back. But I got to tell you, I don't believe this story. This story is nonsense, and it doesn't need to be a part of ABC News or CNN in order for it to be nonsense. But it helps. Let me read you a couple of pull quotes from this. In fact, I'll just start it over. Just start it from the beginning. In late January, students at Jocelyn Rojo Carranza's school spread rumors and speculation that immigration authorities would deport families of students at the largely Hispanic school, according to a parent and another student. The 11-year-old died by suicide on February 8th, 5 days after the mother found her unresponsive at her home in Gainesville, Texas.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games, all for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
According to an online obituary, her mother says that Jocelyn was bullied by other students who claimed her family was in the U.S. illegally. Now, all you need to know is that paragraph right there, because I know this audience. And if I can say so, I know that smart people read or heard what I just read and said, bull, nonsense. There is no way. There's absolutely no way. Because first I want to start off with the not so obvious. School has been a political playground for years. And in the Trump era, everybody at school is talking about Donald Trump or Republicans or politics or the news. They just are. Every place in the world. Teachers are having conversations with their students about everything that's political. And if it's a liberal school where minorities dwell, you can damn well bet they are talking about what's constitutional, unconstitutional, who's a threat, who's evil, who the boogeyman is. You know that's going on everywhere. And you're going to sit up here and tell me that on the November 5th election, that we didn't get people bullying this young lady until January? And we don't get a suicide until February 8th? Oh, and by the way, the kids are the ones having conversations about who's going to be deported and not the school? Everywhere you look, everywhere you dwell, every place you read, you hear this story. Everywhere. No one's in the dark about this. You're going to sit up here and tell me in a predominantly Hispanic school in Texas after the election of Donald Trump, when Tom Homan is going from state to state, grabbing illegals, criminal illegals, all over the place. You have the news media writ large talking about, are they just scooping up criminals? Are they scooping up anybody who looks brown? All of these stories. And you're going to tell me that this was the one place in the world where nobody knew this was going on. That they were allowing rumors to just permeate throughout the school for this little girl to take her own life. That no one was keeping her up to snuff on what was going on as far as immigration is concerned in the state of Texas? Are we really supposed to believe that? That the girl was being bullied, people knew the girl was being bullied, kids were bullying the girl, and nobody was having a conversation? Nowhere? Teachers weren't taking it upon themselves to find sanctuary for girls like her or kids like her or any of the kids? You're also trying to tell me that in this predominantly Hispanic school, that there were little white kids, the minority, who had so much power in the school that they were scaring the majority Hispanic kids into thinking that they were going to be deported. Is that what you're trying to suggest to me? Again, I told you I was going to be insensitive here. Okay? And again, I am not saying that the young girl is, well, technically she committed suicide. So yes, she is responsible for her own passing. She committed suicide. However, I'm not going to believe this nonsense that says because of the immigration policies of this administration, the poor 8-year-old girl, that's exactly what this article is supposed to suggest. If you don't read between the lines, if you're not a critical thinker, you'll believe this nonsense. Come on. Is anybody really supposed to fall for this bull? You got to be kidding me. A day after the little girl's funeral, investigators have not released information on how the alleged bullying may have been connected to the death of the middle school student. So wait. See, the plot gets thicker, huh? So the police haven't released it, but the news media can so much as suggest. Again, let's go back to the headline. 11-year-old girl dies by suicide amid deportation rumors at school. That headline suggests we know. Police department is saying, they don't know after a funeral. The mother of one of Jocelyn's schoolmates said her 11-year-old daughter, who is white, started coming home from school crying 3 weeks ago, expressing fear for her Hispanic friends due to chatter and taunting that she heard on campus. So in this school, there was no one. You're telling me that at this school with predominantly Hispanic children, that the teachers in the school, who we know are inherently liberal, who are inherently against this administration, not one of those teachers was paying attention to the politics of the Trump administration back on election day and not running around finding ways to protect their students. Because as far as I'm concerned, everywhere you look, that's what you hear. And now they're saying that, nope, not in this school. This school was completely oblivious. And the people who were dominating the conversation about illegals being deported were the children. Come on, bro. Come on. It's the most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. But here we are. Look, again, this is reported by ABC News in Texas and CNN. Just give it a minute. Just give it a minute. That's all it's going to take. And this young lady, God rest her soul, she'll be used. Her memory will be used. They didn't have this much empathy for Laken Riley on the conversation of immigration, but the hell if they won't use this one. It'll be stunning. Look, just watch. You'll see. Just watch. We'll take a break. We'll wrap this up when we return. It's Reese on the Radio, NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
We're back. It's Reese on the Radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC. It's been a minute since I've flexed on my political acumen and how astute I am into what goes on in the minds of the left. But if you've listened to Reese on the Radio, and if you haven't, let me just be certain to tell you that everyone who knows my show is going to nod their head in agreement when I reveal this. I said, when it came to Doge, and I asked the question of the day, I think it was Monday, the question of the day I asked was, would you turn down, would you frown on $5,000 if Elon Musk and Donald Trump were to give you that money back, in essence, saying that the money that had been fleeced, stolen, ripped off from you, the taxpayer, and used on God knows what, whether or not you would be accepting of that money coming back into your pockets after the government mismanaged it in that way, that Elon Musk and his team went out and found it. Donald Trump turned around and said to you, here's your money back. You gave it to the government and they abused it. And you know what? We want to tell you, as this administration goes forward, we are never going to abuse your money like that ever again. And to top that off, here's $5,000. Sorry about your loss. And I said, I didn't care who you are, what stripe you were on, and even if you hated Donald Trump, you were going to take that money. There's no way anyone would sneeze, frown, or throw it back in his face. Nobody would. To top that off, which makes that interesting, what was the other thing that I said was going to be the incentive of people appreciating that $5,000? Because what did Doge find out? That the money was being given to anyone and everyone except the American people. That, again, this would be not just winnable. If he gave this money today, it would resonate until the midterm elections, I said. And I said they could forget about the midterm elections. If in a year, after all of the savings were done, and then going into Congress and saying, do you appropriate this money or will you rescind it and put it back into the coffers of the American government so that we can give out $5,000 to the American people? If the Democrats were to say no, forget about it, it'd be a done deal. It's a wrap. It's over. They couldn't. The midterms, it's a wrap. In fact, you would see Republicans gain seats in the House and in the Senate. And if one of those Supreme Court justices decides to bow out or keels over, forget about it. We don't see another Democrat in charge for at least 14 years, 15 years even. It's over. So and nobody ever challenged me on it, don't get me wrong. It is obvious that all of that I said is true. But I want to take, I'm going to take a novice. You know, Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club, he knows it too. He knows how scary this proposal is.
The worst thing that could happen is Elon gives out them $5,000 stimulus checks.
Oh, it's over.
He give out them $5,000 stimulus checks.
It's a wrap.
It's going to be bad for a while.
Imagine what people will feel when they go, by the way, this isn't us giving you money. This is us giving you your hard-earned money back. You deserve this.
Listen, from a political marketing perspective, it's genius.
Because they understand what people are feeling. And the Democrats, instead of crying about all this and labeling him big bad man and all this other stuff, they should really be paying attention to what the American people are feeling and finding ways for their policies to have messaging that taps into what Americans are feeling.
That's Charlemagne's co-host. I think his name is Andrew Schultz. Pretty good comedian. He's actually really funny. But, you know, he did an interview with Donald Trump as well. And he hasn't been on, I don't want to say he's been on a conservative side, but he's been very middle of the road, where Charlemagne is very left-leaning. He says he's independent, but he's incredibly left-leaning. But yeah, again, only recognizing the obvious from two political novices. This is, and the worst part is that the Democrats will not listen to these two guys who are on the ground floor, who is pretty much where everyone is in the nation when it comes to being politically astute, right? People have a basic knowledge of politics. They don't understand what a resolution is. They don't understand how things are ratified. They don't know how a bill is outside of, Schoolhouse Rock, and they don't even have that anymore. So you have a lot of people who don't understand the inner workings of politics and how politics work. But these two guys, they are more likely to reach those folks than anyone else, and far more than Chuck Schumer or even a Jasmine Crockett will. So I would listen to Charlemagne and Schultz here in the respect of they get that. It's as simple as $5,000. It's just that simple. And Democrats should be like, and I'll tell you what it is. It's real simple. It is, they are angry that Donald Trump thought of it first. And it will always be attached to him and Elon Musk. They couldn't jump on the bandwagon now because it would be obvious that they were bandwagon riding. So they have no way to say, I did that. There's no way to say we implemented that. They thought the American people would jump in with them when they were standing outside the Department of Education, when they were standing outside of the Treasury, when they were out there protesting in the street against DOGE and for the federal government. They thought that because it was Donald Trump behind it, that people would automatically support them. And then what Donald Trump did, again, and this is the brilliance of him, people think that he's such a billionaire he couldn't possibly understand, ground floor, basic retail politics. But again, remember, in order for Donald Trump to be Donald Trump, he has got to appeal to the low-hanging fruit, the bottom feeders. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but that's what it is. In order for Donald Trump to be iconic, he just can't be appealing to the highbrow. He's got to be appealing to the lowbrow, to your average American, and he does. And he finds a way to do that. When he does the things like the sneakers, people think that's silly. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. He's getting them at the basics. And having his name attached to those things, it's memorable. Be it bad or good. It's infamy over fame. And Donald Trump knows how to work the infamy in good ways. And that's the way it should be. But I don't think these bozos will ever get it. So if they were smart, listening to Charlemagne and Schultz could help them. But they won't. And it'll be too late when they do. They'll drag this on. If Doge is smart and Donald Trump are smart, they don't have to say anything about it now. They've already teased it. Hey, what do you think? Maybe $5,000 is in your future. And then build that momentum up and then get the Democrats to go on stage and scream, no, those $5,000 are wrong. So wait a minute, if we get this right, the Democrats don't want you to get $5,000 of your money back? Wow, that seems odd. Like, why would they vote against that? And the American people go, yeah, why would they be against me getting my own money back? And then it'll be, because the government is evil and they don't care about me. Donald Trump doesn't have to lift a finger. Story writes itself. It's brilliant. But then again, it isn't. It's basic. Not brilliant. It's basic. Which in a weird way kind of makes it brilliant too. All right, it's time for me to get up out of here. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your minds. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good day, pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you back here on Monday, 3 p.m., because we've got the opening monologue, stupidest thing I read today, the question of the day, and we've got prizes and giveaways as well. So make sure you hang out with us. All right? Be good to each other. Holler.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.